Some Pokemon abilities in Pokemon Pocket are just game-changing, and others make you kind of scratch your head. And today, we're tier listing all 12 Pokemon abilities in Pokemon Pocket. Hey guys, welcome back. Zen here, and today we are tier listing every single Pokemon that has an ability in Pokemon Pocket. I believe there are 13 of them. It might be 12, 13. I don't know. We're going to find out together. And we have 5 tiers here. We have the S tier for strong abilities. We have A, which are pretty good abilities. Then we have the B tier, which is very niche abilities. Then C tier with, they could be good. Only time will tell, really. And then we have the D tier where they need support or buffs in future expansions. And with that, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and let's get right into it with the first Pokemon being Poliwrath. And we're going to start things off with a right into C tier because it could be good. The reason I'm putting this is because it's a second stage Pokemon. You need to evolve into it, and the ability could be good if you pair it with things like a poison archetype, maybe something with tick damage. But every time your opponent hits Poliwrath, their active Pokemon takes 20 damage. So I guess that could be a good ability. The issue is it kind of takes forever to get online. Another thing that could be good with this Pokemon is you could essentially put it in any type of deck. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be water type. Maybe throw in a Misty so that way you can attack with this. However, even if you throw it in something like pure fighting type with 0 water energy, if you evolve into Poliwrath, it still kind of deals damage. So it could be good. Yeah, we're gonna keep it there. Next up is Greninja. I'm gonna start this off with pretty good because from your bench, this thing can deal 20 damage. Now we're talking, Poliwrath, take notes here, because this thing, all you gotta do is evolve to your second stage Greninja, and it could just start sniping from the back. It doesn't need to be in your active spot, and just having an additional 20 damage to add on to your active Pokemon dealing damage could make or break a game and honestly win you a ton. Which brings us to Gardevoir, and why did I say the name like that? Gardevoir? It's Gardevoir, and that's S tier. This thing is just being able to accelerate consistently. The word is consistently 2 energy every single turn to your active Pokemon if you want to, one from the energy zone, one with this ability is insane. Yeah, you can do it with things like Moltres or Misty, but those require coin flips, and that is not consistency. So just being able to consistently add an extra psychic energy every single turn, by far insane for that psychic type Pokemon archetype with things like Mewtwo, honestly anything, Gengar, Alakazam, whatever you want. Having Gardevoir there to just boost and accelerate your energy is so good. Moving on to Weezing, and I'm going to put this top A tier. I really like Weezing. It does have a retreat cost of 3, but that can easily be countered with things like Koga, where you can just bounce it right back to your hand. But this ability allows it to poison your opponent's active Pokemon, meaning every checkup phase, they're taking 10 damage. And I love that. You don't even need to run Dark Energy in any deck, and you could still put your Weezing in there to just add this extra tick damage. One, you're wasting things like their resources to switch out, so that way they're no longer poisoned, or they're wasting their potions. And this thing is just completely there to just waste your opponent's time, waste their card advantage, and just poison them and add tick damage over time. Which is why I think it's an A tier Pokemon ability. Next up is Melmetal. And it's a good ability. It's a really good ability, but it needs support. It needs buffs. I don't know if it needs a patch update or something, but with the HP and its ability, this thing still dies to 150 damage, which if you know, look at that S tier, Gardevoir and Mewtwo, hello, still one-shot Melmetal. It's like it has an ability that doesn't really matter, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely hope it gets some sort of tune-up or some buffs in future expansions, because I feel like it could be very, very, very good, or at least I want it to be very, very good. Next up is Porygon, and this card could be good in the sense that it gives you information of what your next card in your deck is. It doesn't draw it, but you get to know at least what the next card is. So that's helpful. Maybe you use this and then you use something like Pokeball if you don't want that top card, so that way you can kind of shuffle your deck. So there are strategies that revolve around Porygon, but as of right now, it's okay. It could be good. Now, another card here is Victory Bell, and I love Victory Bell, but it needs maybe a little bit of a change, and that is the wordage in its ability. This thing can swap out your opponent's active Pokemon with a benched Pokemon, and you choose what that benched Pokemon is, except it has to be a basic Pokemon. And that limitation is really hard for Victory Bell to take advantage because all your opponent has to do is just evolve all of their Pokemon at least once. And now Victory Bell's ability, it doesn't do anything. So I feel like it definitely needs some sort of buffs or support in the future. Moving on to Magneton, I'm going to put it in niche because it works really good in an electric archetype, something that's running, you know, Lieutenant Surge, Raichu's, Electrodes, maybe even Electabuzzes. This thing is pretty good because one, it could accelerate for itself. It's kind of like Gardevoir in a sense. If it could accelerate to an electric Pokemon in the active spot, this would easily be S tier. But because it only accelerates to itself and then it needs support from cards like Lieutenant Surge to then move all that energy to things like Electabuzz, Electrode, or Raichu, I'm going to put it in niche. It's pretty good. It's pretty good when you build a deck around it specifically for that. Also, side note, if you don't know this, I found out a few days ago, you can put Magneton in any type deck. It could be a pure fire type deck. You run 0 electric energy and its ability will still generate electric energy for Magneton. It's actually pretty dope. So you get creative with your deck building. Moving on to Butterfree, here's another one I'm going to throw in niche. It acts like a potion across the board. It works really good if your deck type is about sustain, you know, recovering, maybe something like a grass type deck with Erica, Venusaur. But it does require you to evolve your Pokemon into stage 2. It could take time. You're like drawing in your deck, trying to find this card. But yeah, it's pretty niche. I wouldn't say it could be good because the ability is definitely good. It is a positive ability, that's for sure. But yeah, definitely niche. I don't think you can get away with running it with outside of too many decks from its archetype. Next up is Pidgeot, and let's be honest, this Sabrina this Pidgeot is your Sabrina every single turn. It's so good. It's tough to run because again, it's a stage 2, but just like Gardevoir, once you get this online, you just leave it in the back and you disrupt your opponent every single turn. Every single turn. They're burning through their X speeds, they're burning through their energy to retreat. They don't know what to do. This thing is pretty good. Next up is Cloyster here, and I don't know, I feel like it needs support buffs. I'll put it right here. I'll put it behind, you know, Melmetal because it runs into the same issue as Melmetal. A little bit better in terms of its attack. It only requires three energy, sorry. And if you run a Misty, you might not even need that. So evolve one stage 1 and deal that much damage and take -10 from damage. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Maybe, you know what? I guess I'll throw it in here. If it wasn't a water type, I think it would be D tier, but I'll put it as could be good because of things like Misty. Moving on to Hypno, and I would consider niche, but I think it's pretty good. I think you could put this in almost any kind of deck and then have that element of control from your backline where you just, I believe, flip a coin and put your opponent's Pokemon to sleep. It's not the best ability, so it's going to be the last place in A tier, but as long as you get a heads and your opponent gets tails, you can control their active Pokemon, they can't retreat, they're asleep, and you can just continually deal damage with your active Pokemon. So Hypno, you made it to A tier, bud. Which brings us to our final Pokemon, and I'm going to throw this at the end of S tier. This limits your opponent from using any supporter cards. It is the king of control right here, but the issue I have with it, the reason I'm not putting it like the first place of S tier is because it takes forever to get online, right? Stage 2 Pokemon. But on top of that, by the time you do get your Gengar online, your opponent probably already used both of their Professor Research, maybe even like a single Misty, maybe a Sabrina. So like, what real advantage are you going to get unless they haven't used those cards and you had a godly opening hand with all the cards you needed to evolve? Still a really good ability, but because of that, we're going to put it in the 3rd place for S tier. But there you guys have it. That is my tier list for every single Pokemon card with an ability in Pokemon Pocket. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.